That threw me off though. And I was like, ah, oh, my heart hurts so good. I love you, babe. Amen, brother Ben shot a goose and hit a hen. What if I don't remember? Okay. Hypothetically, if you ever kill your husband, hand on the Bible, I'd be lying through my teeth. This is If You Go Down, I'm Going Down Too. Hand on the Bible, I'd be lying through my teeth. I really love having one song about female friendship on every record. This one just happened to be like my threat to murder version of that. I was always really drawn to Goodbye Earl for that same reason. Obviously, it's a fictional story, but it's about the sisterhood and like the links you would go to for your people and your friends. And there's this history of country music where like we get spicy. Us ladies get spicy. Duh. I needed to contribute to that conversation. I've had my share of losers, liars, and users looking for a heart to break. That is from Love Me Like You Mean It, my very first single. I've had my share of losers, liars, and users looking for a heart to break. The song that like got me my record deal and ended up being my first #1, and it changed my life. Fun fact, when we were writing this song, Forrest Glenn Whitehead, who produced my first couple of records, he was like, I want to write something with like some more sass in it. Because I was 20 at the time. And so everything was like, you know, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like flirty fun. He's like, I want you have the grit, like let's put it in a song. And he was like, let's listen to Rihanna's Take a Bow. Because you know how she kind of has that, like she almost talks and like throws words away and stuff? We listened to that song and then we wrote Love Me Like You Mean It. But it's over now. Thank you, Rihanna, for always inspiring me in everything you do. You're a whole queen. The first time I heard Love Me Like You Mean It out in the wild, I was in my Jeep Liberty on the interstate in Nashville. I remember the DJ came on and he was like, that was Luke Bryan with Roller Coaster, and up next is country newcomer Kelsea Bellerini with Love Me Like You Mean It. And I was like, ah. And I was like trying to video it, but then also like 10 and 2, you know, and be respectful of the road system and being a good driver. But yeah, it was overwhelming. And to have the hometown station even just like acknowledge your existence is a big deal. And then let alone say your name in the same sentence as Luke Bryan. That's crazy. Okay. Woo! Did your daddy teach you how to act tough? Or more like your mama, sweep it under the rug? This is Homecoming Queen. Or more like your mama, sweep it under the rug. It definitely touches on how it feels to grow up in the South, especially like in the South, very religious as a young woman. It's really easy to kind of stay in that fragile echo chamber. I've always been really interested in the world outside of that. I don't know if I've ever told this story publicly, but the truth of that song is I was working on the record and Nicole Gallion and Jimmy Robbins were on the bus with me to do a bus trip weekend. There was an award show and the nominations had just come out that day and I didn't get any. That sounds so petty and like so stupid, I know, hindsight. At the time, I think I was so in the grind and I was showing up as well as I could, as often as I could for country music, and I felt like it wasn't enough. And I was like, man, am I ever gonna fit here? I was kind of having this whole existential crisis on the bus, and Nicole looked at me and she was like, it's so interesting that that's how you see yourself, because perception, before I knew you, you're the girl that got to Nashville and you got a record deal and your first 3 songs went #1 and you were like the homecoming queen. And I could not feel more differently about my experience. I guess that's just like, you never really know how people view you. And it's also so important how you view yourself. And I think that for me was giving myself permission to feel my feelings, but then also get out of my own way. That song in general and that whole like chapter of music, it helped me reevaluate where I was finding affirmation and kind of redefining success, because I used to think it meant statistics and numbers and how many shiny metal things you have on your shelf. And I certainly don't think that anymore. Half of my family is happy I left. The other half worries I'll just forget where I came from. This is half of my hometown. The other half worries I'll just forget where I came from. That I got to record with Chesney, who is my hometown hero. I'll never forget being a kid and driving around with my parents and hearing songs like I Go Back on the radio and being like, Mom, Dad, explain to me how he is singing about here. He's singing about this town that we're in, but he's Kenny Chesney. Like, he sells out stadiums, but he's singing about this place that we're in, that I'm in right now. And to have a song all that time later that essentially is like the love letter to the place that let me go to go try to figure this out. And then to do it with the person that inspired me to leave is really, it's pretty full circle. My accent is the piece of my hometown that I take with me everywhere I go. Every time I take the freeway to Knoxville to like go visit my dad, it's game over. I'm like, hey y'all. Amen, Brother Ben, shot a goose and hit a hen. Oh my God. And it stings rolling up the welcome mat knowing you got half. This is from a song called Penthouse.
And it stings rolling up the welcome mat knowing you got half.
That is on an EP called Rolling Up the Welcome Mat that changed my life, certainly my career. And everything about those 5 songs brought me back to my center. And what I mean by that is I started writing songs when I was 12, and it was because my parents were getting divorced, and it was like, I don't know, like my safety net in every way. And then you move to Nashville and all you want to do is get in the room with people that are the giants. You want to be better. You want to learn from them. I was lucky enough to do that with my first few records. And then like all the thoughts of, okay, well now also let me think about what's going to work at radio. And now also let me think about collaborations and all that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes it's easy to kind of lose the purity of why you write music. Welcome Matt was my reset for that. Keeping that honesty and that, I guess, the honesty of why I was writing songs in the first place, which was to deal with my life and my very big feelings. And I'm very proud of that EP. And my love for it has certainly changed since I wrote it, but it'll always be, I think, the thing I'm most proud of. I was so deeply nervous to be a coach on The Voice because it's a big seat to fill, you know, it really is. And I was up there with 3 guys that I grew up listening to, more or less. You know, I'm such a fan of all of them. And I didn't want to make myself smaller because I was nervous. I was like, I want to lean into the fact that I do have 10 years of experience. And I believe that I have insight that is valuable to someone. In the very first day of Blinds, we have an amazing artist named Angie Ray, and she sang Penthouse. I think for me, that was the moment where I felt like I was supposed to be there. Okay. I found my independence. Can't believe I ever lost it. It's what you wanted, ain't it? What you wanted. This is Miss Me More.
I found my independence. Can't believe I ever lost it. What you wanted.
This song was important to me because it was the first time I let myself write outside of Nashville. I've always been really open about the fact that I love every kind of music and I listen to every kind of music. My first concert was Britney Spears, but I grew up on a farm in East Tennessee, and that's like me in a nutshell. Like truly is that duality. I was always worried about if I wrote outside of Nashville or if I wrote with a pop writer, would that make me not country enough? I don't know. I think I finally just trusted myself enough to know that it didn't matter to me as an artist whether the song had a banjo or a beat drop. If it was the truth and it was something that I wrote from my life experience, that to me is country music. And so writing that song in LA with pop writers and then having it go #1 on country radio, I think was a big win just for me, like personally as an artist, a big aha moment. Thank you. Ooh. Wait, what is this? Oh, you're the only thing I want when one drop hits my mouth. This is I Quit Drinking, right?
You're the only thing I want when one drop hits my mouth.
I really enjoy collaborating with people that like I've listened to their music for a long time. And I remember hearing, oh, my heart's so good, I love you, babe, so bad. And just being like, who is this? What is this? And being so obsessed with it. And then meeting Paul and becoming buddies. And then he came to Nashville and we got in the room with Nicole Gallion and we actually like wrote this song from the ground up, which is often not how collabs happen. I think because of that, there was such a synergy to that collab and like an honesty to it. I've always loved that song. That threw me off though. I almost didn't get it. Clear out a drawer, clear out a shelf. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. This is Baggage.
Clear out a drawer, clear out a shelf. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
This is one of the first songs that we wrote for this album. I actually came in with the chorus. It was a ballad. I was like, hey girls, I have this idea about kind of just like blissfully accepting the road that gets you where you are and knowing that no one's coming to the table in life with like a clean record. You know what I mean? And I think I was just in a place where I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. But I'm messy a couple years. I'm going to own it and I'm not going to apologize for it. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. And I believe that that is part of what is making me here in this moment. And please accept it. And if you don't, period. Put this on my tombstone. This Cabernet has a way of vanishing on me, and indeed it does. This is from Hole in the Bottle.
This Cabernet has a way of vanishing on me.
This song was on my third album called Kelsea. I love the duality of having songs on a record like The Other Girl, which was like a collab with Halsey that was pretty pop, and then having Hole in the Bottle, which is so traditional country. Both feel really honest to me. Little did I know that I was gonna put out that record the week the world shut down for COVID, and that song would hit very different in the next 6 months for people. So as the wine sales were going up across the country, that song was put into the world. It's a different cloth we cut, but underneath we're the same blood. I love that line. That is from Sorry Mom.
But underneath we're the same blood.
I wanted to write basically a love letter to the shift in the dynamic of my mom and I's relationship. She's really protective of me, and I think she finally, in the last couple of years, we finally have shifted a little out of that mother-daughter and into like woman to woman. And it's been a really beautiful change in our relationship. You know how sometimes, especially if you're a young girl raised religious in the South, like there are certain things that you're like, I can't talk to my parents about this. And now know that like there's such a safety with any kind of conversation. I can bring anything to her, and vice versa. I think that was worth celebrating in a song. I didn't play it for her, actually. I was on a retreat working on the record, and my mom was at dinner with my boyfriend. This was early on in my relationship, and I was like, this feels like a really good test. And so I texted my mom and I was like, hey mama, I wrote you a song. I'm gonna send it to Chase and he's gonna play it for you in the car. And then I sent it to Chase and I was like, Godspeed to ya. Find some tissues. But it ended up being a very sweet moment between them, and then obviously I sing it for her now. Aw, I guess I had a naive heart because boy, I let you have it. This is Peter Pan.
Guess I had a naive heart, 'cause boy, I let you have it.
It's really interesting because Peter Pan, it was my fourth single, but it was like the song that worked. I don't really know how else to say it. It just worked different and connected really differently. And I think because my first three songs were kind of that breezy, happy-go-lucky vibe, and this to me was like my first songwriter song, I was really protective of it. Up until 2 years ago, that was the song in the set that everyone waited for. Like that was the one that people wanted to hear. And now it's Penthouse. And so I feel like those are my two that I protect with my whole heart. I really do. If you got a Friday night free in a shotgun seat, I'm just saying I ain't got nowhere to be. This is Dibs.
If you got a Friday night free and a shotgun seat, well, I'm just saying I ain't got nowhere to be.
This was, I think, my second single ever into the world, second or third. It was just cheeky, honestly. This is why you have to always stay very awake as a creative, because you never know when you're gonna get an idea for something. I was reading a magazine, and I literally, sometimes like you'll see a quote or a title or whatever, and I literally just read the word Dibs and I was like, that'd be a really cute song. Put it in my phone, and then a couple months later wrote it. It's just a cheeky one. She's just a cheeky, sweet song. We like her. When I hear this every now and again, like if it's just playing on the radio or something, it almost doesn't sound like me anymore. Like this one for me feels extra. I was 20. I was 19. You know what I mean? Which I appreciate, but it's hard for me to get back into that now.